You grow up in Yekaterinburg, fourth floor of a concrete apartment block that smells like boiled cabbage and cigarette smoke. Your mother works 2 jobs, morning shift at a textile factory, nights cleaning offices downtown. You see her awake maybe 40 minutes a day. Your father left when you were 6. Not dramatically, no fight, no suitcase, no slammed door. He just stopped coming home one Tuesday, and nobody explained why. You learn early that people disappear and the world doesn't pause to acknowledge it. School is a place you go because it's warm. You're smart, but nobody notices smart in a building where the radiators don't work half the year. You're small for your age. 2 older boys take your lunch money every Wednesday outside the bathroom. You let them. Fighting back costs more than 40 rubles. You learn math that way. You're 16 when you meet Kolya. He's 19, drives a black BMW that doesn't belong in your neighborhood, parks it outside the grocery store like a statement. Gold chain, leather jacket, hands that have never pulled a factory shift. He sees you watching the car, doesn't yell, walks over, asks if you want to sit in it. You do. The seats are heated. It's the warmest you've been in months. He laughs at that, buys you a shawarma from the stand across the street, asks your name, asks where your father is. You say gone. He nods like that's the only answer that makes sense. Kolya starts showing up, not every day, just enough. Picks you up after school, takes you to a cafe where men in expensive coats drink espresso at 2 in the afternoon. Nobody in your life drinks espresso. Nobody in your life owns a coat that fits properly. These men do. They talk quietly, laugh at the right moments, shake hands like deals are being made with every grip. Kolya introduces you as his little brother. He doesn't have a little brother. You don't correct him. A man named Vadim looks at you for a long time. Gray eyes, silver watch that costs more than your apartment. He asks Kolya if you're reliable. Kolya says yes. You don't know what that means yet. You will. First job is simple. Deliver an envelope to a restaurant on Malisheva Street. Don't open it. Hand it to the man behind the bar. He'll know. You walk 40 minutes in the snow. Hand over the envelope. The bartender gives you a different envelope. You bring it back. Inside is 3,000 rubles. Kolya gives you 500. That's more than your mother makes in 2 days. You don't ask what was in the first envelope. The answer would cost you the 500. By 18, you're running errands full time. Drop-offs, pickups. Sitting in cars outside buildings for 3 hours, waiting for someone to come out and hand you a bag. You don't carry a weapon. You don't need to. You're not muscle. You're logistics, invisible, reliable. That word again. Vadim starts requesting you specifically. You drive him to meetings. You wait. You drive him back. He never explains anything. Occasionally, he takes a phone call in the back seat, and you hear fragments, shipment, customs, the port in St. Petersburg, numbers that sound like they have too many zeros. Vadim is bratva. You know this the way you know water is wet. Russian organized crime, not the movie version with tattoos and throat cutting. The real version. Businessmen in tailored suits who own construction companies and car dealerships and politicians. Men who file taxes and attend their children's school plays and also control the methamphetamine supply for 3 oblasts. Vadim runs the Yekaterinburg operation under a Moscow boss named Zhirkov. You've never met Zhirkov. Nobody at your level meets Zhirkov. He's a voice on a phone that makes Vadim sit up straighter. You get brought in properly at 20, not a ceremony, not a blood oath. Vadim takes you to dinner at a restaurant that doesn't have prices on the menu. Orders for both of you. Steak, wine, cake. You've never had a steak that wasn't gray. Over coffee, he explains the structure. You'll manage a section of the cash operations. Payments from businesses under protection. Collections from gambling debts. You'll have 3 men under you. A car. A phone that rotates every 2 weeks. A salary of 200,000 rubles a month. He asks if you understand what loyalty means in this context. You say yes. He says loyalty is simple. It means when you're told something, it becomes true. When you're asked about something, you've never heard of it. When someone outside this table asks you anything about me, you are a driver for a logistics company and your life is boring. For 3 years, it works. You're good at it. Better than good. You have your mother's discipline and your absent father's ability to disappear into routine. You collect, you count, you deliver. The money is clean by the time it reaches Vadim. You buy your mother a new refrigerator. She doesn't ask where the money came from. She opens it, touches the shelves, closes it, opens it again. She smiles. It's the first new thing she's owned in a decade. You tell yourself this is why you do it. That's the first lie. The real reason is simpler. You matter. When you walk into the office above the car dealership, people nod. When you call a restaurant to make a reservation, the table appears. When a man on the street bumps into you, Kolya steps forward and the man apologizes twice. You've spent your whole life being no one. Now you're someone. That feeling will cost you everything, but the invoice hasn't arrived yet. You meet Anya at a New Year's party. She's a medical student, smart, direct, laughs like she doesn't know the room is full of criminals. She probably doesn't. The party is at a nightclub Vadim owns. To her, it's just a nightclub. You talk for 2 hours. She asks what you do. Logistics, you say. She asks if it's interesting. You say it has its moments. She gives you her number on a napkin. You call her the next day. You date for 8 months before she moves into your apartment. She reorganizes your kitchen, puts vitamins on the counter, hangs a photo of the two of you on the wall. The apartment feels like it belongs to a real person. You like that version of yourself. The one in the photo. Normal, happy, no rotating phones. Anya finds 80,000 rubles in cash in your sock drawer on a Tuesday. You forgot to move it. She holds the stack and looks at you. Doesn't yell, just asks. You lie. Bonus from work. She nods. But the nod has a delay, about half a second too long, and you can see her filing the information somewhere she'll access later. The violence is something you experience sideways. You're never in the room when it happens, but you see the aftermath. A business owner who missed 3 payments shows up with a broken orbital bone and pays the next day. A man who talked to the wrong people disappears from his apartment, and his wife files a missing person report that goes nowhere. Kolya tells you one night after too much vodka that he put a man in the trunk of a car last month. He says it casually, like he's describing a parking job, asks if you want another drink. You say yes. The drink helps. You learn that alcohol is the club's health insurance. It covers the parts of your conscience that would otherwise keep you awake. Then Vadim calls you at 3 a.m. on a Wednesday. This has never happened. His voice is flat, controlled. A shipment was intercepted in Nizhny Novgorod. Someone talked. $2 million worth of product, gone. Zhirkov is asking questions. Vadim says the word questions the way a doctor says results, with weight. He tells you to bring the books, all of them, every ledger, every receipt, every record of every transaction you've managed for the past 3 years. He wants them on his desk by 8 a.m. You don't sleep. You drive to the office and sit with the ledgers, and for the first time, you see your life from the outside. Every page is a felony. Every line item is a prison sentence. You're 23 years old, and you're holding more evidence against yourself than any prosecutor could dream of assembling. You bring the books. Vadim reviews them for 2 hours. You sit in a chair across from his desk and watch him turn pages. He doesn't speak. At 10:15 a.m., he looks up, says the numbers are clean, says you did good work, says the leak isn't in your section. You exhale for the first time since 3 a.m. Then he says something else. He says Zhirkov wants an example made. Someone in the Nizhny Novgorod crew talked. They've identified him. His name is Petrov. Vadim says the name like it's already past tense. Petrov will be dealt with. He says this in front of you. Not because you'll be involved, because he wants you to understand what happens to people who talk. It's a lesson delivered as a weather forecast. Casual, inevitable. Petrov was 31 and had a daughter. You know this because you'd met him once at a meeting in Moscow. He'd shown you a photo on his phone. Little girl in a yellow dress. He was proud. You remember that. You remember that, and you hate that you remember that. Because now Petrov is a name that means something, and that makes it harder to file away. You don't hear about Petrov again. Nobody does. That's the point. Vadim calls a meeting. Someone is leaking. He doesn't know who. He doesn't have proof, but he can feel it. He says this looking at each person in the room, one at a time. When his eyes reach you, they stay for exactly the same duration as everyone else. Not longer, not shorter. That precision terrifies you more than if he'd stared, because it means he's already thought about you and decided you're not the one. Or it means he's already thought about you and he's watching to see if you react. You don't react. 7 years of being invisible taught you that. Anya tells you she's pregnant on a morning in April. She's smiling, nervous, holding the test like it's a diploma. You hug her. You say all the right things. Inside, something cracks, not breaks, cracks, like ice on a river in early spring. You are going to be a father. You are also going to be a witness in a federal case that will dismantle the organization that pays for the apartment where your child will sleep. Those two facts cannot coexist forever. The timeline just got a deadline. You call Grigory, you tell him about the baby. He's quiet for a moment. Then he says the case is accelerating, 6 months, maybe less. He says when it happens, you and Anya will be relocated. New city, new names, new documents. He says it like he's describing a software update. He doesn't ask if Anya knows. He knows she doesn't. He says that part is your problem. You start stealing time. That's what it feels like. Every dinner with Anya is stolen. Every conversation with Kolya is borrowed. Every meeting with Vadim is a countdown. You laugh at jokes you won't remember. You shake hands with men who will curse your name in 6 months. You eat at a table surrounded by people who would kill you if they knew what you carry in your phone. And you pass the bread and pour the wine and compliment someone's new watch. The night before everything ends, Vadim invites the inner circle to dinner. His home, expensive neighborhood. His wife cooks. His 2 sons run around the living room. He's generous, pours expensive wine, tells old stories, laughs. At one point, he puts his hand on your shoulder and tells the table that you are the most reliable man he's ever worked with. That word again, reliable. The table raises their glasses. Kolya winks at you. Vadim's wife brings out cake. His youngest son asks if you'll play football with him tomorrow. You say yes, you're lying. By tomorrow, 40 FSB agents will be at the door. The raids happen at 5 a.m. on a Thursday. 23 arrests across 4 cities. Vadim is taken from his home in handcuffs. His wife screams. You know this because Grigory tells you later. You're not there. You're in a safe house 200 kilometers away. Anya is with you. She knows now. You told her 3 days before. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She sat very still for a long time and then asked one question. How long? You said 7 years. She got up, walked to the window, stood there for 4 minutes, came back, said, okay, not forgiveness, not acceptance, just acknowledgement that the life she thought she had never existed. Kolya gets 9 years. Vadim gets 14. Zhirkov, the Moscow boss you never met, gets 22. 11 other men get sentences ranging from 4 to 18 years. The car dealership is seized. The construction company is dissolved. The nightclub closes. An entire economy disappears in a single morning, and nobody on the outside notices because the grocery stores still open and the buses still run and the snow still falls the same way. Your name never appears in any filing. Grigory keeps his word. You are a ghost in a case that fills 14,000 pages. Witnesses reference a source. Prosecutors reference cooperating individual. Your face is nowhere. Your name is nowhere. But Vadim is smart. He sits in a cell and he does what you did with the ledgers. He runs the numbers. He eliminates possibilities. He counts the people who had access to the information that brought him down. The list gets shorter every week. You know this because Grigory tells you. He says it's time to leave. The relocation is fast. 3 days. New city. Krasnodar in the south. Warm. Different accent. Different rhythm. New names on new documents that feel like wearing someone else's clothes. You're Alexei now. Anya is Daria. You open a small appliance repair shop. Washing machines. Microwaves. Televisions. Quiet work that pays enough. Anya works at a clinic. The baby comes in September. A boy. You name him Misha. He has your mother's eyes. You call your mother from a payphone. You can't tell her where you are. You can't tell her the new name. You say you're fine. She's quiet. Then she says she saw something on the news about arrests in Yekaterinburg. She asks if you're in trouble. You say no. She's quiet again. Then she says, I always knew you were too smart to stay in that life. She says it like a compliment. It lands like a verdict. Because being smart enough to leave means being smart enough to have never joined. And you joined anyway. You chose the warm car seats and the gold chains and the feeling of being someone. And the price tag for that choice will follow you to a city you didn't pick, with a name you didn't choose, for the rest of your life. The shop does fine. You fix things. People bring in broken toasters, and you make them work. Anya adjusts. She's stronger than you, always was. She makes friends at the clinic, learns the neighborhood, takes Misha to the park. You try. You go to a cafe and sit and drink tea. And nobody knows your name, and that's the point, but it's also the problem. You spent your whole life wanting to matter. First, to your absent father. Then, to Kolya. Then, to Vadim. Now you matter to no one except a woman who knows you by a name that isn't yours, and a son who will grow up in a story that's been edited. Some nights, you sit in the shop after closing, lights off. The street outside is quiet. You think about Kolya in a cell. 9 years. He was the first person who ever treated you like you were worth something. He brought you into this life, and you handed it to the FSB on a piece of paper. You tell yourself you had no choice. You tell yourself he would have gone down anyway. You tell yourself the organization was rotten and everyone in it was complicit. All of those things are true. None of them help. Because at 3 a.m., truth and justification are different currencies. And only one of them buys sleep. A man comes into the shop on a Wednesday. You've never seen him. He wants a radio fixed. Old model, Soviet era. You tell him it'll take a week. He nods, pays in advance, leaves. You fix the radio in 2 days. He comes back for it on Friday, pauses at the door, says your name, your real name, not Alexei, the name you buried in Yekaterinburg. He doesn't say anything else, just the name. Then he picks up his radio and walks out. You close the shop early, drive home, pack a bag, tell Anya. She doesn't ask questions. She packs Misha's things in 8 minutes. You call Grigory. He answers on the second ring. He says he'll send someone. You wait in the apartment with the lights off and the bag by the door and your son sleeping in his crib, and you realize that this is the rest of your life. Not a destination, a condition. You will always be driving. You will always be packing bags. You will always be listening for the sound of your real name in a stranger's mouth. The Bratva doesn't recruit with threats. That's what people don't understand. They recruit with warmth. Every new member is a kid in a cold apartment who somebody finally noticed. That's the product. Belonging, recognition, a seat at a table where someone pours you wine and calls you brother. The price is your name, your safety, your ability to sleep without calculating exits. The price is every relationship you'll ever have, starting with a lie you can never correct. There's no retirement from this life, no pension, no alumni dinner, just a repair shop in a city you didn't choose, and a son who will one day ask where he's from, and a name you answer to that isn't yours, and a man with a radio who proved that the past doesn't stay buried just because you moved south. Somewhere right now, a kid in a concrete apartment block is watching a black BMW park outside his grocery store. The seats are heated. It's the warmest he's been in months. If this made you think, drop a comment. Subscribe for more. See you in the next one.